This is the fairest, most stunning girl in Netflix's latest Japanese version of City Hunter. She's a cosplay-loving anime fan, known by the nickname A Cat. Don't be fooled by her petite and adorable appearance once she wipes off her makeup. She transforms into a monstrous anomaly. With a light leap, she soars up to the second floor, vanishing in the blink of an eye. Such an inhuman feat leaves City Hunter's Ryo Saeba completely stunned. Just recently, a voluptuous beauty hired Ryo to find her sister, who had been missing for days. Everyone knows Ryo Saeba has an eye for finding beauty, but during his mission, he was a little preoccupied, deeply immersed in the art of Japanese bath culture. That's when his partner, Makimura, sent a message. Target spotted. The missing girl was cornered by a gang of thugs. Seconds away from real danger, Ryo Saeba slid down the steel cable, swiftly closing the distance. Swinging across the night sky, he fired a single shot, shattering the window. Before the thugs could react, Ryo had already taken them down in an instant. The gang leader, lurking in the shadows, was ready to strike. Terrified, the girl turned and bolted. Ryo was right behind her, locked in pursuit. As he dashed past a bar, a stunning beauty caught his attention. Ryo Saeba and Makimura were trapped in the hallway, with a dozen triad enforcers closing in for backup. For Ryo, taking them down was a piece of cake. Makimura, though not as skilled, still held his own in a 3-on-1 fight, dodging and counterattacking like a pro. Did you notice? Makimura's look and fighting style bear a striking resemblance to a young Jackie Chan, a subtle nod from Netflix to the classic Hong Kong City Hunter films starring the action legend himself. Once the dust settled, the two were stunned. The girl had leaped onto the rooftop of the building across the street. Ryo wasn't about to be outdone. With a swift pursuit, the duo flanked her, cornering her in a dead end. Nowhere left to run, but then her neck veins bulged unnaturally. In an instant, she morphed into something inhuman and vanished into the night. A few small blue vials clattered to the ground. Makimura picked them up and slipped them into his pocket. Just then, Ryo's old nemesis, Seiko, made her entrance. He had no choice but to surrender. Seiko, dressed in sleek, stylish black, looked like a typical office beauty, but in reality, she was Tokyo's most ruthless cop. Lately, Tokyo's tourist hotspots had been hit by a string of violent mutant incidents. A man wielding a Mjolnir-like hammer smashed a car into scrap metal. Another jumped off a skyscraper, landing without a scratch. A real-life Spider-Man. One guy was so freakishly strong he lifted a vending machine like it was nothing, which is why Seiko suspected that the girl Ryo was after was one of them. Makimura showed a photo of the girl with makeup, instantly grabbing Ryo Saeba's attention. But Makimura had to hurry off to his sister Kaori's birthday. Their late father had left one final wish. When Kaori became an adult, Makimura was to tell her the truth: she had been adopted. But just as Makimura sat down, fate played its cruel hand. A mutant stepped down from a truck, completely numb to pain. Without hesitation, he pulled out a steak knife and drove it straight into Makimura's body. By the time Ryo Saeba sensed something was wrong and burst in, it was too late. Makimura lay in his arms, fatally wounded. With his last breath, he handed Ryo the vial and managed 3 final words: "Take care of Kaori." After the tragedy, both women in Ryo's life were on the verge of losing it. Seiko suspected these mutants were either high on some new drug or infected with an unknown virus. Her superior warned her to stay out of it, especially to keep her distance from someone like Ryo Saeba. Meanwhile, now an orphan, Kaori took to the streets, desperate for clues, only to stumble upon Ryo Saeba, arms wrapped around 2 women. "My brother just passed away, and you're already out here enjoying yourself?" From that moment on, she labeled Ryo Saeba as a pervert who only thought with his lower half. But Kaori was wrong. Ryo wasn't just a pervert, he was the pervert of all perverts. Determined to prove his innocence, Ryo's expression darkened. He pulled out his revolver and put on a show of pure skill.
それはお前のためだ。
Yet Kaori refused to back down, shadowing Ryo day and night. Finally, fed up, Ryo decided to show her the real world. And Kaori? She wanted nothing more than to crawl into a hole and disappear. Just then, Ryo buttoned up his shirt and led her to a secret spot behind the stage. Turns out, that dance performance, just a side hobby Ryo couldn't resist showing off a little. His real mission was to squeeze the truth about the mutants out of a crime boss. The boss, clearly frustrated, admitted that even their own turf had been wrecked by mutants. They had just captured the weakest one for interrogation when Ryo Saeba showed up.
相手は相当イカれた連中だからな。
Following the address the boss provided, they tracked the girl down in a bustling anime district. The moment she spotted them, she bolted straight into a packed nightclub. Ryo Saeba finally forced his way through the crowd, only to see a masked brute holding the girl hostage. A gunshot sent the whole club into chaos. Seeing things turn south, the attackers had no choice but to retreat for now. Seizing the moment, Ryo Saeba took the girl back home, and that's when the truth unraveled. Turns out, there was no sister at all. The stunning woman who hired Ryo, a total fraud. Then, the girl finally revealed her real identity. Her online handle was a cat, but her real name was Hu Tao. A few days ago, she was kidnapped by a mysterious organization. After being injected with several unknown drugs, her body started to mutate, and those two one woman who attacked them just now, they were part of that very same organization. At that moment, the two assassins were on one knee, desperately begging their boss for forgiveness. The mission to capture Hu Tao had failed, but they swore next time, they wouldn't miss. The boss had no interest in empty promises. The brutal death of one subordinate was his way of giving them one last chance. Meanwhile, Seiko had cracked the mystery behind the vials. The substance inside was known as angel dust, a powerful drug once mass-produced by the military to create super soldiers. Now, a shadowy organization was using it to throw the world into chaos and profit from the aftermath. If they wanted to lure this group out, Hu Tao was the perfect bait. Coincidentally, a major cosplay show was being sponsored by the beauty brand Loli, and Hu Tao was a special guest performer. She played the role perfectly, smiling sweetly and putting on an adorable act. But Ryo Saeba stayed firm. There was no way he'd let her take this risk. Just then, Kaori casually slipped a photo of the sponsor's CEO to Ryo Saeba. Ryo took one look and was instantly hooked. Alright, fine, I'll go. The cosplay show itself was a feast for the eyes. So much variety, so many stunning costumes. Ryo's grin was harder to suppress than the recoil of an AK-47. To blend in, he even dressed as a cowboy and exchanged business cards with the CEO. As they chatted, the host announced Hu Tao's grand entrance. The moment she stepped on stage, all eyes were locked on her, and the creeps? They wasted no time, cameras in hand, trying to get a peek under her skirt. Too bad Ryo Saeba was there. They tried to shake him, but he was everywhere. The creeps tried every trick in the book, but Ryo Saeba countered with an endless array of moves, some even in slow motion. No one noticed that. On the rooftop, a sniper was assembling his rifle. It was bare, and his scope was locked onto Hu Tao. One shot, this will be over, but just as he pulled the trigger, Ryo Saeba blocked it. No way. Even that was predicted? Unwilling to believe it, Bear loaded a second tranquilizer dart. This time, it had to hit. Yet again, he underestimated Ryo. Not only did Ryo deflect every shot, but he even used a horsehead prop as a makeshift baseball bat. Within moments, Bear was out of darts. Frustrated, Bear called for backup. Enter Sasori, the very woman who had tricked Ryo into taking the job in the first place. Sensing trouble, Ryo grabbed Hu Tao and bolted for the backstage exit, but he was too late. Sasori was already there, waiting. She wielded a razor-sharp black whip, striking with such mastery that Ryo couldn't even get close. Meanwhile, Kaori panicked and dragged Hu Tao through the front exit straight into Bear's sniper trap. Ryo tried to warn them, but Sasori wrapped her whip around his throat. choking off his words. Now, he was fighting on two fronts, dodging Sasori's deadly strikes while avoiding Bear's long-range shots. Just as he gained the upper hand, Kaori rushed out like a complete fool. Bear took a bullet wound to the eye. Ryo? Just a flesh wound. Realizing he was outmatched, Bear radioed Sasori, calling for retreat, but Ryo smirked. "You think you decide when this fight ends? Now that's my call." Sasori had had enough. Tossing her earpiece aside, she swore to take Ryo's head herself. Strike, block, counter, elbow, flying kick. With a final move, Ryo pinned her to the ground, locking her in place, but Sasori refused to give up. Seeing that Ryo had zero intentions of showing mercy, she played her trump card. She'd complete her mission even if it killed her, but Ryo wasn't worried, because at some point during their fight, he had already injected a tranquilizer into her waist. No matter how strong her will, her body couldn't keep up. Fuming, Sasori stumbled, cursed, and collapsed in bitter defeat. But amidst all this chaos, Hu Tao was gone. By the time Siko arrived, someone had already taken her. That someone? The police chief himself. And where did he take her? Straight to the organization's hands, all for a suitcase full of cash. Siko immediately called her superior, but beside her, Sasori looked visibly tense, breathing heavily. A countdown timer. Seconds later, the only lead they had was gone. Now, the police had zero information on how to track the organization, but Ryo Saeba had planned for this. Before Hu Tao had stepped on stage, he had secretly attached a tracker behind her earring. Now, on his phone, her location appeared, and in his Bluetooth earpiece, an old man's voice spoke. "The police might be clueless, but the underworld? We know everything." The organization's real name? Luxing Society, an international crime syndicate with roots in Central America, built by global opportunists, and their foothold in Japan? The lowly beauty brand, the very sponsor of Hu Tao's cosplay event. But after handing Hu Tao over to the Luxing Society, they had already silenced the CEO. Now, the only lead left was at lowly headquarters. The moment they stepped into the basement, a horrific sight unfolded before them. Dozens of test subjects lay lifeless on the floor, their bodies cold and motionless. Even the air was thick with the stench of blood. Ryo Saeba moved deeper into the facility. This area was dead silent, almost too silent. Before he could finish, mercenaries poured in from all sides, sealing off every possible escape route. Surrounded like prey among wolves, Ryo remained unshaken.
ウーバーイーツでーす。ヤンニョムチキン頼まれた方。じゃあキャンセルしときますね。
The mercenaries unleashed a storm of bullets, shredding through the walls, turning solid concrete into Swiss cheese. By all logic, anyone behind those walls should have been blown to pieces, but things never go as planned. Despite this being Kaori's first real fight, she was quick to adapt, following Ryo's orders to the letter. She tossed him spare magazines, and together, they unleashed hell, raining bullets on the mercenaries as if ammo was limitless. It wasn't just about raw firepower. Ryo knew a thing or two about physics and geometry. A few precise shots, some well-timed ricochets, and within moments, every mercenary hit the floor. At that critical moment, a sleazy-looking man emerged, holding Hu Tao hostage. This was one of Luxing Society's local bosses. With Hu Tao captured, he had already called in an extraction team, and the only thing left to do was reach the rooftop. But strangely enough, he admired Ryo Saeba. Of course, he already knew what Ryo's answer would be.
喋るハエだな。俺のパートナーをやったんだ。そうだ。黙ってあの世で土下座してろ。
From the warehouse, a massive brute stormed out. Ryo instinctively fired, but the bullet bounced right off. That silhouette, he knew it all too well. No way. Bear? But this time, something was different. Bear had been injected with angel dust. His skin was like steel. His strength had multiplied tenfold. Ryo threw a punch. Bear didn't even blink. Bear punched back. Ryo nearly coughed up his dinner, but while Bear's exterior was indestructible, his insides were still human. That gave Ryo an idea. He waited for the perfect opening, dodged a punch, dove low, and in one smooth motion shoved a grenade into Bear's mouth. A single shot, boom. With Bear down, the fight should have been over, but across the room, Kaori was losing her mind. She was so close to saving Hu Tao, but between them stood a thick bulletproof glass wall. No matter how hard she punched and kicked, it wouldn't break. The Luxing Society boss smirked. Then, he leaned in and whispered, "Let me tell you a secret. Kaori, your father, he was one of us. When he tried to leave the organization for his family, he was marked a traitor. So, the first test subject of angel dust, Kaori's entire world collapsed. The shock, the betrayal, she was losing control. And watching her break down, the man's twisted grin only widened. Ryo Saeba moved calmly, step by step. The thick bulletproof glass might have been impenetrable, but not against relentless precision. Shot after shot, each bullet landed exactly where the last one had hit. The glass thinned layer by layer, becoming fragile and ready to shatter. Above them, a Luxing Society helicopter hovered, ready to extract their operative. But the moment they saw Ryo Saeba, they wisely turned and flew away, almost as if they had already foreseen this outcome. As Kaori stood there, trembling, gripping a gun, he grinned and pointed to his forehead. "Come on, Kaori, pull the trigger, step into this world, become a killer." But in the end, Kaori just couldn't do it. His last remnant was gone. With the battle over, things returned to normal. One morning, Kaori barged into Ryo's office, broom in hand, declaring that she was moving in as his new partner. But what truly broke Ryo's heart? She had thrown out his entire collection of rare, out-of-print study materials. Damn, the lucky bastards picking up trash today. Maybe Gen Z doesn't fully grasp what City Hunter meant to 80s and 90s kids, but for those who grew up with it, Tsukasa Hojo's art and storytelling were nothing short of legendary. Sure, the actor playing Ryo may not be as handsome as the manga, but at least, they captured his essence. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like and follow.